Hello, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. We're live in the studio to talk about Harry Kane and a transfer request. Is it something to get excited about or is it more of the same? And from one Harry to another, Harry Maguire expected to leave Manchester United after the writing was put on the wall last night at Old Trafford for Harry Maguire. We've also got updates on Mason Mount, growing confidence that he will be a Manchester United player. What's going on with the Qatar sale? I mean, if we've not heard that enough over the last 6 months, then where have you been? Gary Neville's had his say on that. Dean Henderson, close to a move to Nottingham Forest. What's holding that up? The Athletic have reported on that as well. Also, a couple of players that would be high on Eric Ten Hag's transfer list could be heading to Arsenal this week. Jurrien Timber, Declan Rice, heading to Arsenal. We'll talk about that and a few other bits to talk about as well, including sell to buy, which is obviously a big thing for Manchester United. So hope you're ready this morning. Nice to be back in the studio. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. We're going to start off with something that literally I could run to in 30 seconds. Well, not 30 seconds. I'd probably have to fly. But Old Trafford's just round the corner from here. And England played last night in a game I didn't watch. I don't care. I don't care for Southgate. I don't care for England smashing a pub side. I don't care for international football unless it's the Euros or the World Cup. But Harry Kane last night and Declan Rice and any other player should have got a taste of what it's like to play at Manchester United over the last few days. Training at Carrington, playing at Old Trafford. We saw some of the link up between Rashford and Shaw and Kane last night. And that could and arguably should be a fixture next season. But of course, we know the barrier that Spurs are putting up. Harry Kane's got 1 year left on his contract. This is what the Daily Telegraph had to say, and Matt Law, who's a very good journalist, he's basically saying that Harry Kane, those players around him feel that Harry Kane knows he's got to move this season, but with the barrier Spurs are putting up, it's going to take a push from Harry Kane. And I'm going to sit here as somebody who, look, I'm not a massive fan of Man United signing Harry Kane. I had other targets I wish we'd go for. But I'm also not going to sit here and say Harry Kane, with the goals he scores in the Premier League and the quality he is, I mean, whether I want him at Man United or not, and I do, it just wouldn't be my first choice. I have to look at it, as I'm sure any Bayern Munich fan, even a Spurs fan, Chelsea fan, or anybody that would like Harry Kane playing up for the front for them, or even if you're just an observer, I have to look at it and say, why are you not pushing? Like, you are way too good for Spurs. You're 30 years of age next month. Why are you not publicly pushing for this? I mean, what's the backlash from Spurs? Oh, I can't believe that Harry Kane wants to leave us. You know, we're more interested in Beyonce and Ed Sheeran concerts and a go-kart underneath our pitch than we are actually winning anything. You've got a new manager that, let's be honest, is not going to be that successful. If you get top 7, it'll be miraculous. I mean, all he's doing is, Harry Kane must just have a big poster on his bedroom wall that, you know, he just marks off the goals getting closer to Alan Shearer. Like, ultimately, the Telegraph are right. It's what you've been saying for a long time. Is there one last twist in this transfer for Harry Kane to Manchester United? Because it's been my hunch all of last season. It's been a player that Man United want for most of last season. Is it literally going to be, we want Harry Kane, we can't get him and we walk away? Or is there actually a play here? And I would implore Harry Kane, waking up this morning with a couple of holidays in Greece ahead of him, to say, do you want to go back and do pre-season with Spurs? Or do you want to create a legacy where you actually try and play at the highest level and win something? A Carabao Cup to him would be like a World Cup. He's got no winners' medals. So, look, it might be a bit of a stretch, but are we going to get that transfer request from Harry Kane? We sort of got one, was it last year or the year before? And then he sort of retracted it. I think he's got to go for it. I speak to a few Spurs fans when I was doing the Talk Sport show during the season, and some of them just didn't really have a massive problem with him doing it. They were like, well, I would rather pocket the 80 million now and use it for the new manager than he plays with us for a year and then he goes for nothing anyway. So, look, it'll be interesting. Forget getting any good players because there will be no one left that we will want by the time we get new owners, as Tom Best. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But, look, there may be no further legs in this Harry Kane story, but it is a news show. It's coming in from the Telegraph. And the feeling is amongst the England squad that there is a feeling that Harry Kane wants to go. This is the time to go. but he's going to have to push it. And that's absolutely spot on. It is. You know, we know that logically. It's interesting that it's coming out of the England camp. We know what Luke Shaw was joking about with his Instagram posts, but this is the time. You know, this is the time. And I will say that as well, bit of breaking news here. It's going to start kicking off now. International football basically ends today. So players are going on holiday. Players can talk to their agents. Managers are coming back from their holiday. Ten Hag's been on holiday for the last couple of weeks. So we're going to start to see movement. Whether we start to see movement from Man United, I don't know, but we will start to see the Declan Rice deal to Arsenal, etc. So look, is Harry Kane going to put a transfer request in? Let's see. Arsenal are looking seriously, unlike United. Look worryingly serious, says CL11. Yeah, well, look, the bottom line is, when we look at the Arsenal situation, I wasn't going to go there, but there's a lot to talk about. I'm happy to do that. Declan Rice should be an Arsenal player in the next week. Havertz should be an Arsenal player in the next week. And Yuri and Timber, they've gone in. Now, whatever you say about Timber, and I saw a few of you last night going, I don't want a player who's got the mentality that he can't dislodge Maguire and Lindelof. Well, it wasn't actually that story, was it? Because we had Varane as well. But look, Timber's a good player. When Ten Hag came into the club last season, this was the player he wanted as a centre-back ahead of Martinez. I think we ended up with the right centre-back, but he did want Yuri and Timber. Arsenal going for Timber, putting him into their back four, Rice into the midfield, Havertz as an option in a more advanced position. That strengthens a team that came second. Where's our strengthening yet at the moment? We don't know what it is. Now, I don't think Timber should end up at Man United. I'm going to be pretty blunt on this. Kim Min-jae, yes. Yuri and Timber, no. I know it can happen. I'm not a hipster on this. I don't need some statograph or anything like that. I don't fancy two 5'10" centre-backs. I know it can work. I know how to do it, but I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I do like a Vidic type who can just go and win everything in the air. And I don't think Timber and Martinez would work. But girlfriend and I love you, Mark, says Sam. Cheers for the constant content, getting me through as we speak, says Sam. Thank you very much, Sam. So yeah, look, they're looking to get Timber in Arsenal. They're looking to make moves. Speaking about centre-backs, by the way, I don't know whether you heard what Southgate had to say. Normally I switch channels when Southgate starts talking. But on Harry Maguire, the chat with Eric Ten Hag hasn't happened yet. Again, Southgate having to come out after the game last night talking about how good Harry Maguire was. Look, I ain't got no problem. Harry Maguire could play in his slippers against North Macedonia and Malta. I could play centre-back. It's not a problem. But he can't get in a Man United side. He is England's first choice centre-back with John Stones, but he can't play for his club side. Southgate cannot continue to get away with that. Like, there are centre-backs coming. Even Tyrone Mings is playing well for Villa. You've got Guehi. There are, Colwill at Brighton at the moment on loan from Chelsea. There are good centre-backs out there that play for their club team. The national team is not a club team. Favouritism, narcissism, whatever you want to call it, this cannot continue. Southgate cannot keep picking Maguire. He's done a season where he's not played and he's picked him for his national team. You can't do that. You can't go into a tournament with a centre-back that's not played for their first team for 2 years. Maguire needs to wake up this morning and smell the coffee. Get the Maxwell House out, put it under his nose. He needs to smell it because he's got to wake up. He has got to ask. Andy Weatherall's gifted a membership. Thank you, Andy. You're a legend. Yeah, look, Maguire has got to go. Now, if he wakes up this morning and thinks, I'm going to fight for my place, I'm sorry, that's like me waking up this morning and saying, give me a couple of months of hard training and I'm going to beat Usain Bolt in a running race in September. It's never going to happen. Doesn't matter how many shuttle runs I do, doesn't how many, how much I exercise or nothing. I am never going to beat Usain Bolt in a sprint. Never going to do it. And Harry Maguire is never, it's not about nothing to prove. It's not about mental attitude. He ain't going to work. Hi, Mark. Love the United stand. Do you think we'll sign anyone in the next few weeks? I do, Krishna. But look, Maguire's got to go. Will he go? Rhetorical question, but he has to go because you ain't good enough, mate. You ain't good enough for Manchester United, and we need to move on from your legacy, and you need to move on from not being good enough for United, and you need to secure your place in the Euros. The only way you're going to play for Man United next season is if Martinez, Lindelof and Varane all get injured. He's got to go. I don't really care about the transfer fee. I don't really care about being proven right. I'm not really bothered about that. He's got to go. And if he doesn't realise that, because he was grinning like a Cheshire cat last night. He was really happy. Oh, look at me. I've got nothing to prove. I'm England's most scored, another clean sheet. But if he wants to go to the Euros, he's got to go. 200 million budget, Ramos, Costa, Monte, Rabiot, sell Maguire, Eric and Alex, Scott, Newcastle, and a cheap centre-backs as being reigned United. Okay. So, yeah, look, I would expect that to escalate. I think he'll go on the tour. But what I would say is, and somebody messaged me last night, would it really be surprising if Harry Maguire came out and said he's not leaving, he wants to fight for his place at Man United? Was that not what last year was, Harry, by the way? But yeah, we'll have to wait to see. He's already secured a place in the Euros. We just need him to leave. And now you've got to go, mate, says Malps. And Shaw, workers negotiator for the club, says just Rams. And another clean sheet at Old Trafford, says Robit. I mean, look, there's an interesting stat there. Has Harry Maguire played more minutes for England this season, or started more games for England this season than he has for Manchester United, considering the World Cup? There might be a little quiz question there. Has Harry Maguire started more games for England this season than he did for Man United? I would say it's probably no, but it might not be far off. Time to replace the fridge, says Anthony. Yep, get yourself down Curry's or PC World or wherever it is you buy your fridge, and let's get a new one. But look, just on exits, and incomings, a couple of updates here in relation to Dean Henderson and Mason Mount before we talk about the sale. He has started more games for England than he has for Man United. That can't be right. It's true. It's true. Powell says they said during the game last night he started more games for England than he's played for Manchester United. Wow. And Shash says the commentators in the MASH took a dig at him, saying he's played 10 games for England and 8 for United. And he's played more minutes for England. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for Maguire, but that's embarrassing for Southgate. How can a national coach pick a player more for an international team in a season than he has been for United? It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's really embarrassing, says Giovanni. More minutes, not games started, says Stu. Well, that's terrible. But he's not the only one. Calvin Phillips as well. Kane transfer request where, says Adam. Remember, we're a news show, Adam. Remember, it's a news show. So the Telegraph are basically saying that from the England camp, the players around him get the feeling from Kane that he's ready to move on, but he's going to have to push it with a transfer request. So will we get it? Now, what I will say about Harry Kane is, and it's pretty much well known, and we said this a couple of months ago, might have been a month ago now, Harry Kane has let Spurs know he wants to go. Like, he has let it be known to Spurs for quite a while that he wants to go this summer. Public transfer request, we'll have to wait and see. Private transfer request already happened, but the feeling is he's going to have to push it publicly. Harry's been fantastic keeping that high line on the bench this season. Going to miss him if he leaves, says Stuart Prattwell. Well, look, apparently, if you look at the average, you can do this with centre-backs. So if you do it with centre-backs at Manchester United, you can do it on their average distance from the goal. And apparently, Harry Maguire's average distance from the goal is better than Martinez and Varane this season, because he's been sat on the halfway line at Old Trafford with a really high line. So there we go. Bad joke, nicked it. But yeah, I think with the Kane transfer request, I would say, will we get the public transfer request? He's told Spurs he wants to go. Spurs have said, we're not going to let you go unless we get a stupid offer. Will he go public to force a move? I think he probably won't, but he should. Hi, Mark. Would you rather have Kane or Mbappe? My only issue with Mbappe would be the wages and his attitude, but wrong guy to have, says Leighton. I'd rather have Mbappe over Kane because Mbappe is better than Kane. But what we're hearing from PSG is that they want to sell him. They don't want him to run his contract down, but he wants to run his contract down. That's better. Sorry about stupid name before, says Let's Reignite United. Thank you very much. So, just on Mason Mount, Telegraph, James Ducker, also a little bit about Maguire as well. On the centre-back situation, he said that if Manchester United want to buy a centre-back, it's going to depend on sales. And Mark says, I think we need players with fighting spirit like Lisandro Martinez. We need good psychological profiles as well as technical ones. Absolutely spot on. And DK says, Mark, I got married this weekend. Thank you for being a part of my life for the last 4 years and wish a new start for United. Wish you all at United stand the best, says DK. Congratulations, DK. Married at the weekend. It's now Tuesday. What's the update? Excited? What you thought? You know, now you've unwrapped it. I mean, not the dress. I meant, like, you know, the actual, you know, now the excitement of the wedding day. Is it an anticlimax? Do you think you made a bad choice? You can't send it back, so hopefully it's going well. But congratulations to you as well. Congratulations. So, yeah, look, going back to what James Ducker has said, the signing of a centre-back for Manchester United will depend on sales. Obviously, we had Fabrizio on the show yesterday. He said United never progressed to an offer for Kim Min-jae, and I think logically that's because Kim Min-jae and a centre-back is down the list, probably option 3, maybe even option 4. Striker, midfielder, centre-back. I mean, it might even be option 4. 2 midfielders, number 8, more defensive-minded ones. So this is why we're missing out on players, because the uncertainty around the sale and the budget causes a problem. But sell to buy is something we've heard a few times. I don't think in relation to the centre-back, sell to buy is necessarily true. We will spend £200 million. Remember, I've said that a few times. But you can't buy a centre-back when you've got Martinez, Varane, Lindelof and Maguire. There's no point buying Kim Min-jae when you've got Lindelof, Maguire, Varane and Martinez. So we need to sell a centre-back to bring a centre-back in. My nightmare is that we sell Lindelof because loads of people want him and we keep Maguire. That would be thick. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But also James Ducker saying that United remain very confident that they will sign Mason Mount. They base this confidence on the fact that Mason Mount will not sign a new contract at Chelsea. That road has been well trodden and has broken down. So Mason Mount is basically saying to Chelsea, you sell me or I'll run my contract down and I'll go for nothing in a year's time. And United would be willing to wait a year because he'll be only 25 and he'll be available for free. Hi, Mark. Is it true that Ollie Watkins is on our striker list? I love the show. Keep up the good work. I'll talk about that in a minute, Jose. So Mason Mount, Man United still very confident. £40 million bid last week. We're expected to go in with 50. Welcome to the welcome to the United Stand Members Club, Man United Stand. Thank you very much for joining and supporting the channel. Just on the Members Club, by the way, remember the first half of the Dublin show that we did a couple of weeks ago, in fact 2 weeks ago today. First half of that is on the Members section. The second half, which is another 45 minutes, is going up on the Members section this week as well. So thanks to the members, you'll get to see that this week. Hoyland News says, Quanda, I'm going to talk about strikers in a minute, but let me just resolve this Mason Mount thing. So £50 million is expected to go in for Mason Mount. We had £40 million rejected. They want 70. 1 year left on his contract. Will not sign a new contract at Chelsea. I think for me, it's a question of how long it is, which is the same question DK's wife. No, I'm only joking. Was she disappointed? The reality is, enough of that. They've got to make a decision on Mason Mount. Chelsea have got to make a decision on Mason Mount. Now, selling players to Saudi Arabia for £100 million makes their decision easier. Kovacic is expected to go. Havertz is expected to go. So there is an expectation at Chelsea that, I mean, look how quickly Chelsea have raised 200 million quid, by the way. I mean, it's worth just pondering a moment. United have a budget of around 120 and need to get it up to about 200 by selling players. Chelsea spend over £500 million in 12 months. They desperately need to sell players just to be able to spend. Within the space of a couple of weeks, they've raised £200 million. £100 million going to Saudi Arabia. Havertz will go for about 60. Kovacic goes for about 20. That's £180 million raised in 2 weeks. You can rip the piss out of Chelsea. You can say Todd Boehly is playing the most stupid game of Football Manager over the last 12 months you like. But it just shows you, if you have the mentality to be successful. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're taking the piss out of Chelsea because they spend money badly. But they spend money. And at some point, you'll learn from your mistakes. How we need to sell players. Chelsea have nearly raised £200 million in 2 weeks. I know they haven't done it yet, but they nearly have. United haven't raised 2 pence. So, look, I think there's a deal there to be done with Chelsea, but they might take their time. Why strengthen a rival early in the window? Why not let it stretch out? That's the police going past. I hope you heard that. Hope you heard that. Coming to arrest the Glazers. No, they're not here. But yeah, I think with Mount, I wouldn't put a time limit on it because I think it's in Chelsea's interest to drag this out. Mount and the confidence, like James Ducker says at United are confident they'll get a deal done for Mason Mount because he wants to come to Manchester United. But is it in Chelsea's interest? They're not desperate to get that money in at the moment, so it could drag on for a little while yet. Let's talk about the striker situation, but we've also had a super chat come in here. Let's have a look who's that. Wes says, Mark, I'm beyond fuming with the Glazers. How are they even considering staying? Surely Qatar are coming in with their behaviour and uncertainty in the transfer window. They're ruining our window and our club, says Wes. Thanks for your super chat, Wes. Eneva says, Chelsea know if they drag it out, United will panic and overpay in August. Thank you very much there, Innovator. Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News. Hold on. Slow Sports News. Breaking news. Slow Sports News. From yesterday, reported today by Manchester Evening News. Marcus Rashford's contract. He's expected to earn in excess of £300,000 a week. Wow. That's breaking news there from the Manchester Evening News. Wow. I mean, Fabrizio told us yesterday lunchtime he's going to be the best paid player in the squad, which means he's over 330k a week. But there you go. If Spurs demand 100 million post Kane transfer request, do you think Glazers will do the business swiftly? This is why we need the sales sorted ASAP. I think at the end of the day, you want my honest opinion on the striker situation. Look, someone DM'd me yesterday and says, if Man United don't sign Højlund, you look like a right dick. I didn't bother replying, but I thought, well, I do that 3 or 4 times a day anyway, so I'm not really bothered. I'm not in charge of transfers. Look, I've got a few right, I've got a few wrong. I remember Mbolo years ago. I said, look, United are going to sign him, and we didn't. I remember Alexis Sanchez. We got that right before anybody. And that came in from an Arsenal source. I remember Harry Maguire saying that was going to happen. That came in from a Leicester source. In relation to Rasmus Højlund, I'm not telling you where it's coming from, but it's coming from somebody very, very, very close. And hotter than the sun. A lot of work gone in from United. Player wants to come. Atalanta will do a deal. But I can't say it's going to definitely happen. All I can say is that, and it's been proven right in the last few days, even Fabrizio confirmed it yesterday, when I was saying Rasmus Højlund hotter than the sun to United, no one else was saying it. He was on the list. That is a deal that United are working on. And now he's probably the #1 player that people think we're going to sign. But ultimately, it's like, you know, buying a cow as a pet and then going away for the weekend to Centre Parks and saying to Ronald McDonald, would you look after my cow? And then you come back on the Monday and it's being sold at McDonald's. Like, you know, I don't know what this United board will do with this deal. It's like being, I was going to say myself, because I could do it, but let's pretend Messi. You know, Messi picks it up in his own penalty box, skips past 10 players, rounds the goalkeeper, could finish himself, but goes, you know what, I'll give the striker a tap in, crosses it to the striker to have a tap in, and they boot it over the bar. You know, it's an open goal for United to sign Rasmus Højlund, but hotter than the sun, yes, doesn't mean that we don't deviate because we've got a Pratt at the wheel. But I think that deal will happen. As for Ollie Watkins, never going to happen. Absolutely not. Man United will not sell Ollie Watkins. I know things can get clipped. I've seen it, but no. It feels like we're going to sign players just to fill gaps until at least the January window when new owners are in place and there's a real plan, says Nick P. Yeah, we're not signing Ollie Watkins for 2 reasons. 1, he's not good enough for the price Villa would want. 2, Villa won't sell him. So that's the end of the road. We're not buying Ollie Watkins. Is there a previous summer window where you think would be perfect for today's United team? I don't know what that means, Brazil. I literally don't know what that means. Will Veghorst stay, says Rez. I hope not. I really hope not. Would you sign Sergio Ramos on a free? No, Saeed, I wouldn't. And we are targeted for overpaying, but if we get our act together and perform, we will now have more control, says Roger. Time to call out Murta for what he is. And And Matthew Baker with a super chat says, "Hi Mark, I asked you a while back about our tour show in Cardiff. Is this something that will happen, please? And who do you think our first signing will be?" Matthew, yes, definitely looking to do Cardiff and Edinburgh on the tour. So yeah, looking forward to that. We're just looking at some more dates when we can do it again. Shout out to Arctic Monkey Prats for cancellation of Dublin show with 1 day's notice and no word of reschedule. Daughter is devastated, says Catherine. There we go. And hi Mark, says Ross with a super chat. Do you think if we were to get Rasmus Højlund as an understudy, would that rule out Evan Ferguson next season? Because I would love him at United. Evan Ferguson was on the list for Manchester United. There's no doubt about that. I'd love to see him at United as well. As I've said before, he reminds me of a young Alan Shearer when he was at Southampton. He's got the lot. Still incredibly raw and got a lot to learn and develop. But I wouldn't rule it out because, look, Man United signed Rasmus Højlund, use him as a striker with Marcus Rashford this year. Who knows how successful that would be. Next summer, new ownership, Harry Kane's out of contract. Do you bring him in at 31? Evan Ferguson's available. Do you another year at Brighton, do you try and sign him for 70 million? We need another striker. We need 2 strikers. There's nobody in the youth setup that's coming through fast track. Charlie McNeil's an interesting prospect. There are others, but they're not ready in the next 12 months to play for Manchester United. So we've got Rashford, we've got Martial. You buy Rasmus Højlund. I still think you need another striker at some point. So United need 2 strikers. So I think that the question is, if you don't get Harry Kane this summer, and it's looking unlikely, do you go for him next summer at 31 on a free? Well, look, we bought Ronaldo in at 30, 36? Zlatan at 35, Cavani. You could go for Kane next year, but I would like to move on for something different. We officially insane because we do the same thing every window, says Ray, Carl, Brown, Amori. Yep, well, yeah, I don't think there's anybody who can argue about that. What about Ivan Toney in January, says Samuel. I think Ivan Toney is an interesting one. Really good striker. I mean, to score the amount of goals that he scored last season in a Brentford side was remarkable. Obviously, he's got the ban. I think he's primed to get a move. But on the one hand, United are terrible at transfers. On the other hand, I was saying this in the studio this morning, we've made it very clear that we want Harry Kane for the last 6 months. Very clear. The transfer window opens, we get stories from good journalists saying Man United are going to move on from Harry Kane because Spurs won't sell him. Is that literally what we've been doing for 6 months? I'll tell you a story, right? Kim Min-jae, conversations, scouting, made it obvious we want him for 6 months. Bayern Munich swoop in with a big offer for him. United miss out. We're crap at negotiations, we miss out, okay? Harry Kane, conversations, we make it obvious we want him. There's a spot in the team for him. Transfer window opens. Spurs say we're not selling him. United go, oh, well. There's got to be more to it than that. Now, maybe there isn't. Maybe we are completely useless at transfers like we think we are. But there's surely got to be another play there. Do you say to them, do you want Harry Maguire? Do you say to them, do you want Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay? Does Harry Kane sit there on holiday and go, I've basically got a week to sort this out. I'm putting a transfer request in. Do it, like publicly. Or are we literally going to have a situation where United need a striker? They want Harry Kane. He wants to come to United. And United and Harry Kane basically sit there and say, we're not doing anything. We're just going to let Spurs win. Or do you actually try? Do you actually say, put the transfer request in? Do it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get them to the table. Would you take Lingard back, says Justin? No, I'd take you back, Justin. I would. I definitely wouldn't. Kane is still available, but I think the problem is the current board and ownership, says Abigail. And more news on the Anthony case, says Luke. Well, I'll have a roundup again in a minute. Just want to get through what we want. Let's go, Harry Kane, says Jack. Somebody did say earlier, Goldbridge, you're such a hypocrite. You always said you didn't want Harry Kane. No, I didn't say that. And I will stick up for myself here. What I said is, and what I've always said is, I've got a hunch that Harry Kane will come to Man United this summer. I said it back in October. What I always said is I wouldn't go for Harry Kane. I worry about the price. I worry about the age. I worry about the longevity. I worry about injuries. I worry about mentality. They're all red flags. I would rather go for a younger profile striker with a bit more development in them. But what I also said, overarching from that, is I respect the people that want Harry Kane, because there is no doubt in my mind that he is a world-class striker. And there's probably only 5 or 6 world-class strikers in the game at the moment. You know, consistent goal-scoring world-class strikers. There's top-class strikers. There's strikers with the potential to be world-class. But top of their game, consistent world-class strikers, there's probably a handful at the moment. You know, Haaland's there. Harry Kane is there. You'd argue that Lewandowski's still there. Benzema was there. Is he still there now? You know, out-and-out goal-scoring world-class striker, Harry Kane. So, yeah, Simon Tuvey, welcome to Members Club. But I would have gone for something different. But if we get Harry Kane, I won't sit here and go, oh, my God, we bought the English Weghorst. He's world-class. There'd be no sadness if we bought Harry Kane. And if it's what Ten Hag wants, let's do it. I've said the same about Mason Mount. Should United sign Harry Kane? We've got a bit of a poll going here. Well, look, we're not getting on. Actually, can I just retract? Do you consider doing a show in Netherlands, says Justin? I'll do a show anywhere if we can sell it. By process of elimination, I would sign Harry Kane now anyway, because for me it was Osman or Kane, and I always preferred Osman, but we're not getting Osman. So realistically, he probably fits the profile. But he's got to put a transfer request in. If he doesn't put that transfer request in, Spurs will just sit back there and play the game that they're playing, which I think is a stupid game. I've said it to you before. I don't care. Look, if I'm Daniel Levy and it's not United who want Harry Kane, let's say it's Liverpool, right? This is nothing to do with United here. So I've got Harry Kane, world-class striker, 1 year left on his deal, wants to go, will not sign a new deal. He's going to go for nothing when he's 31 anyway. Liverpool say to me, I'll give you £80 million for him now. I don't want to sell to a rival. He'll be playing for us for free in a year. Well, he's irreplaceable. You're getting nothing for him in a year. You've got £80 million for him now. He's going in a year anyway. Why would you not take the money and start your rebuild that you're going to have to do with no money in a year's time? Plus, you're not finishing in the Champions League this season. Harry Kane or not, Kylian Mbappe or not, you're not finishing in the top 4. You're probably not finishing in the top. You're not. In fact, let's be honest, you're not finishing in the top 6. You're not playing in Europe. So all the goals that Harry Kane's going to score you, you're not going to finish in the top 6 anyway. It's completely illogical. If I was a Spurs fan, I'd actually be pissed off, because Harry Kane's a legend. He's always going to be a legend for you. But his legacy is more important to get money into your club. That 80 million quid, 100 if you're lucky, is more valuable to you than 28 goals from Harry Kane next year. Because 28 goals and go. You're doing a wish version of Van Persie at United. We bought Van Persie to win us the league, and he did. And that was basically it in 1 year. You're going to keep Harry Kane to score you 28 goals again and get you 7th. You're better off with the 80 million rebuilding your team. And also, Harry Kane scores you 28 goals next year, walks out the door for nothing. Then you've got to do a rebuild. And that 28 goals got you 8th place. Sell Harry Kane, use the 80 million now, have a year longer to be working on it. You come 8th, but you're building something. It makes no sense. It's illogical what Spurs are doing. And Spurs fans, I think, know it deep down. Oh, another year of Harry Kane. But it's like you know what it is? It's like being married to your dream partner and them saying to you, look, I'm going to leave you now. You're going to get a load of money. You can fix your hair and your teeth and get a nice car. Get yourself dating again. You're a year younger. You might pick up something you really like. Don't pay for it. Or I'll stay with you for a year, begrudgingly. I'll fake it. And then in a year's time, you'll have no money. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're just prolonging the inevitable, but you don't get any compensation. It's weird. What's the benefit to keeping Harry Kane? Unless there is some odd thing going on where Harry Kane's like, all I want to do is break the record at Spurs and stay here for the rest of my life, in which case it is logical. At this point, I would sacrifice Mount, as we have Eriksen as backup for next season, get a good midfielder rather than Rabiot, says Govind. Mount's not a popular signing. I can't say anything more than that. For me, I'll back the manager, but I accept a lot of people don't want Mount. Okay. This is coming. Let's talk about the sale for a moment. So, source for Financial Times is saying that the Glazers are very slow decision makers who are deliberate in how they think about things. Joel takes forever on any decision he makes, and this is a huge decision. Apparently, he takes an hour to wipe his arse. You know, he will not stop until it's clean, and sometimes he'll even get in the shower. That's not from the Financial Times. That's just me adding a bit of a joke. But this is snail pace Glazer decision making, apparently, according to the Financial Times. Joel takes forever on any decision he makes, and this is a huge decision. You know what? I don't care. Have you ever been on holiday? Or, you know those little multi-packs of cereals you get? I used to love them as a kid. They're never enough. You know the little boxes? You get all flavours. You take them on holiday. And the first day, you're like, I don't know what to have. Do I have Cocoa Pops? Do I have Crunchy Nut Cornflakes, Hula Hoops? You don't know what to have. By day 6, you're stuck with the crap that you didn't want. The point is, I know what I open up that variety pack and I go, right, Crunchy Nut Cornflakes today, Cocoa Pops tomorrow, Hula Hoops on Wednesday. They're all good. That's the way we're going. Can you imagine Avram Glazer or Joel with that multi-pack of cereal? Oh, I don't know. Do I want crunchy? I don't know what to do. Like, I can't stand indecision. Indecision is lack of confidence, incompetence, and an inability to be decisive. And I don't like it. Indecision is not a good trait. Because I don't mind people taking a moment to assess something, but people who take ages on something terrify me because they don't have the courage of their conviction. It's almost like they're basically ostriches. They bury their head in the sand and you leave your arse exposed. That is what the Glazers do. And they've had 6 months on this. You're either selling the club, not selling the club, or doing a deal with Sir Jim to stay at the club in a reduced capacity. Why? It's all right. It's not Crunchy Nut Cornflakes, Cocoa Pops and Hula Hoops, but it basically is. Any decision is a decision where and they've got 3 choices. It's ridiculous, really. It is ridiculous. There's no denying it. The transfer window was always going to be draining for everyone. Hope we can get rid of the Glazers soon, says Omar. Look, I think Gary Neville did a piece with the BBC where he said that it's ridiculous that the fans have not been updated, but it's typical of the last 20 years. I mean, I could call Gary out and say, you've not even said which way you want to go. You're playing both sides. So, it's ridiculous that one of the biggest high-profile United fans in the world, haven't told United fans what you prefer, Qatar or Sir Jim. And how can you like both? One wants to keep the Glazers, one is a full sale. Which one do you prefer, Gary? I think he's hinted both ways. Which one do you want? But Gary's nothing like the Glazers. The only thing they share is the letter G at the start of their name. The point is, we were never going to get updates from the Glazers. They tried to take us into a Super League, debt, dividends, the lot. What we all want to know is, when's this going to be over? I don't think they've made a decision. And that's the harsh reality. I do not think that they have made a decision on what they want to do at Manchester United yet. And I don't like that, but that's how I deal with it. I don't think they've made a decision, and I don't think that they necessarily are going to make a decision anytime soon. Chelsea have announced the signing of Nkunku, by the way. I don't know why anyone's surprised by that. That was always going to happen. Dean Henderson. I mentioned Dean Henderson. I mentioned it at the start of the video. I'm just catching up on any news that's sort of happened in the last few minutes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way. Bottom right-hand corner. Nice to be in the studio. James says, I'd be excited by signings like the Monaco centre-back. I felt they were unexpected gems Ten Hag really wanted, but this is down to indecision caused by the Glazers, says James. Look, Eric Ten Hag can produce magic. Underlying under anything is Eric Ten Hag can produce magic. So Dean Henderson, this is coming in from The Athletic. Nottingham Forest have made signing Dean Henderson a priority this summer. The club's hierarchy are prepared to finance a deal to sign him permanently. The hold-up at the moment is due to the price. United want about £25 million. We're trying to establish, as is everybody, we're trying to establish when the decision is going to be made around David De Gea. Dan Watson says, I hope Rashford doesn't sign that contract until there's clarity. Can't be wasting his career at this pathetic club. Embarrassing every single year. Well, Rashford's going to sign the contract because he's at the club he loves and he's going to earn massive money. He will sign the contract, Dan. Also, he's managed by a very good manager and he won a trophy this year and he's back in the Champions League. It's tick, tick, tick for Rashford. But around the goalkeeper situation, there's £25 million that Man United can get for Dean Henderson there. Nice little wedge at the start of the transfer window. Good move for him. But obviously the De Gea situation is holding that up at the moment. As I said, and this is a fact, United, if they'd bought Harry Kane and they'd bought Kim Min-jae, they'd have kept David De Gea because they wouldn't have had any budget left to go and get a goalkeeper. And David De Gea, Ten Hag and the club were happy to sign a deal and carry on as things are for another year. The fact that Kane looks unlikely, the fact that Kim Min-jae looks unlikely has meant that United have had to go back to the drawing board with their budget. And there has been a suggestion that they could remove the budget a little bit. And instead of £100 million going on a striker and £50 million going on a centre-back, maybe £30 million goes on a centre-back, maybe £70 million goes on a striker. And that gives you another 40 or so spare that you could then use on a goalkeeper. It's not very fair on David De Gea. I don't think it's fair at all to sort of leave him in a situation like that when he's been a loyal servant to the club. But United aren't a very fair club when it comes to negotiating. What we need to know is how quickly that's going to get resolved because that Dean Henderson deal needs to be done. And I think Dean Henderson goes regardless of whether De Gea, and that's the point I was getting to really. Does Dean Henderson stay if David De Gea goes? No, I don't think he does because I don't think Dean Henderson is the goalkeeper to be Man United's number one. There's a chance it could happen, but I just don't think it is. I think if De Gea goes, what even De Gea's critics would say, if De Gea goes, you can't have Dean Henderson as the number one goalkeeper. You've got to, that's your opportunity to go, here's a goalkeeper that's been here for over 10 years. If he's going, let's go and get the best possible. I've always said, if De Gea's going, you've got to go out and get the best. You don't replace De Gea with a question mark. You know, anybody who was old enough to remember the Schmeichel replacement, it went wrong. You've got to learn the lessons. You go and get the best you can get. And that's why it took us years to go from Schmeichel to Van der Sar, because really, that's what you need to do. When you lose an icon or an important part of your team and dressing room, you've got to replace them with somebody fit, good enough to fill those boots. So United need to get some clarity here because Costa is available, Onana is available. They're very expensive. We need to find out what's going on. And the interesting thing is as well, if you move Dean Henderson on, 25 million goes a long way towards a new goalkeeper. Simon says, Mark, we really just need some sort of positive news, either something to do with a sale or transfer. It's getting very boring, says Simon. I can't predict which way this week is going to go. You know, we're Tuesday already. I'd like to say that we will get some news by the end of the week. I do feel like we'll get some movement by the end of the week, but I can't be 100% sure on that. I don't really feel like we'll get a transfer this week, if I'm being absolutely honest. I don't feel we're going to get a breakthrough with Mason Mount because I don't think Chelsea need to give us a breakthrough. They're working with Man City on Kovacic. They're working on the Saudi Arabian deals. They're working on their own purchases. Mason Mount's probably low priority for Chelsea at the moment. And they're probably going, well, that deal we can do whenever we want. So I don't think United are close to a signing at the moment because, you know, Rasmus Højlund could be quicker than that. And as for the sale, look, the sale can be very, very quick. I mean, if I said to you, it was a week ago last night that we heard that Qatar were close, you know, where the share price shot up. That's a week already. I think it's a week ago tomorrow where Rio Ferdinand did his little 4-minute video saying he's got a source saying it's done. I mean, they're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. They're all wrong. Like, listen to Fabrizio yesterday. Listen to what's happening. Like, they're all wrong. This deal is not done. This deal is not almost done. I'd love to say something different, but they're wrong. It's people jumping the gun to try and get exclusives, and they're wrong. I think ultimately, as I've said to you before, Mark Goldbridge's source, yeah, it's done. They're just not saying it's done, but it's been done for 6 months. It's always been done. Qatar's won. It's done. In a month or so, or a week or so, I'll be proved right. Qatar will win because it's done. That's what people do. They're guessing. It's a 50-50 guess. In fact, at the moment, it's probably a 70-30% guess. I'd still say Qatar are 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go. But it's not over and it's not done. So I don't know when this sale's going to happen, but we got mugged off a little bit last week with people who thought it was imminent and decided to jump and go, I've got a source, I've heard this. Categorically, from Club, Qatar, Sir Jim, the Rain Group, and all the decent journalists, it's not done. It's not done. It's not decided. You can't have Avram and Joel Glazer undecided and Qatar deal done. It doesn't. It's like two magnets trying to push them together. It's not going to work. It's not done. I think it will get done, but there's been so many twists and turns in this. As I said, Chuckle Brothers, to me, to you, to you, to me. It's with Qatar at the moment. It could be back with Sir Jim. What do you think about Zidane Iqbal? I want him to start every game, says Modern. Would you keep him? And predictions for when the stock market opens at 2:30, says Kieran. Good point. Good point. We'll see. Wes says, Qatar win, we sack them all. You're in charge of transfers. Budget 200. Who are you buying without getting mugged off? Mbappe, says Wes. Hi, Mark. How exactly does the financial fair play affect United's transfer budget, says Jan. And what's going on? A week in no sold players, says Nick. Financial fair play doesn't affect our budget. I don't believe in the financial fair play excuse. I think that's just a way for the club to excuse themselves not spending money and having a slow transfer window. If you put a story out there saying we're impacted by financial fair play, that's just an excuse to say we can't spend any money. Are Chelsea impacted by financial fair play? No. Look, if United sold 4 players to Saudi Arabia for £200 million today, financial fair play disappears. I don't believe in financial fair play as an excuse because there are things you can do about it. If United don't sell any players, then financial fair play is a factor because you're adding to a very high wage bill and you know there's a gap between revenue and spend which is pretty much set in stone. But there are ways to not be impacted by financial fair play, but I think United mentioned financial fair play because it's an excuse for incompetence because they know they're probably not going to sell players. Release clause for Kim Min-jae is approximately €50 million. Even without undecided future, why can't we move for this quality of player? It's ridiculous, says Patcher. Exactly. Anyway, look, I could talk and talk and talk, as you know. Thanks, everyone, for joining me this morning. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I will speak to you all very, very soon. We'll have a show for you at 2 o'clock. We've got a journalist on at 4 o'clock, in fact. Take care. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. I'll speak to you all soon. What a show.